Mr. Trevs,
Yes, here.
Mr. Totsky,
Here.
Mr. Pax,
Here.
Mr. Wellington,
Here.
and Mr. McCoy.
Here. Okay, for those of you who are going to testify, anyone who intends to testify, please raise your right hand and be sworn. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? State I do. And when it's your turn to testify, please state your full name, address, and affirm that you've been sworn in. Thank you.
All right, well, good evening, members of the Board of Zoning Appeals. We have a full board tonight, and special shout out to our two alternates, so thank you both for joining us regulars tonight. So this evening's agenda has 5 cases. All of these cases are new business items. I will do my best, as I tried to do, going through the staff reports, going through the details and context and relevant facts of each case for you. The first case tonight is case number VA 25-07. That's a residential zoning variance request for an area variance. And specifically, this is located at 6210 Bale Kenyon Road. The applicant and owner is Richard Bale. This parcel is a large parcel in general for residential standards at 41.95 acres. The zoning district is Farm Residential District. So the description of the request is the applicant is requesting an area variance from Orange Township Zoning Resolution Section 7.06A to allow for the creation of the lot of a new parcel that is smaller than the minimum required lot area. Specifically, the applicant proposes to split off 1.277 acres containing the existing residence without seeking a change in the zoning. The property will continue to be used for the same purpose as it is currently. The subject property is located again at 6210 Bale Kenyon Road, parcel ID 318-143-01-001-000, and is currently owned by Richard Bale. So the surrounding area, that zoning district to the north is FR1, and in fact, in all 4 directions, the zoning district is FR1, farm residential. To the north, the land use is single-family residences. That's also true to the south. And then to the east is single-family residences, adjacent farmland. And then to the west is Bale Kenyon Road and adjacent farmland. So again, this is a larger lot. It will help to see the aerial view from the Delaware County Auditor's map. This is quite zoomed out for your awareness about the context in the township towards the relatively close to Alum Creek there and just south of the roundabout at Bale Kenyon. Switching to the next page, this is the parcel that is proposed to be made into that 1.277 acre lot. It contains an existing residence and then driveway access as well. So let's keep going. The next page includes, under Exhibit 1, a site plan that shows the proposed lot. That would be a rectangular shape, 1.277 acres in size. And this is an area variance from Orange Township Zoning Resolution Section 7.06A. The zoning code requires a minimum lot size of 1.98 acres in the FR1 district. The proposed lot size is 1.277 to be specific, which is approximately 36% smaller than the required minimum, and it would therefore require a variance. So you have a better sense of the surroundings of this parcel. We took several site photos, and this is facing mostly north, a little bit to the east. The next one is facing essentially due north, and you can see that existing residence. This lot right here is the the parcel in question, or the proposed parcel. And this is facing east, but it's a little further up the drive. So that is looking along where that adjacent farmland area is. This is looking east-northeast, again, facing that proposed lot. And finally, one more photo facing to the north of the existing residence and the proposed new lot. Okay. We have one more. All right, so this one's to the east, just the opposite view of the other ones that were facing up the, I'm sorry, this one's to the west, facing the other perspective compared to the previous couple of photos. So the last section of the staff report is the board analysis. That's all the criteria for consideration, and this is the variance request from that minimum lot size requirement and the example motions for your consideration. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Could you pull back to the overhead view from, yeah,
Sure.
thank you. And that little square, rectangle rather, is the region we're talking about?
Precisely.
And to the right is farm ground, and to the left is more farm ground, but there's another parcel in there, I see.
Yep. Some of those are outbuildings to my knowledge. The applicant can clarify some
Okay.
of those structures
Yes.
for you. But a lot of that is also undeveloped land, especially that parcel, not necessarily parcel, but the land area across Vale Canyon. And what makes this a bit unique is the fact that this crosses a right-of-way. We don't see this too often. So as indicated in the applicant's responses, this would lessen the confusion as far as a parcel crossing over to the other side of a right-of-way. Again, something that we don't see too often.
Okay. Any other questions?
I did want to confirm, though, perhaps the applicant could just confirm this, but the parcels that are between these two that are shown in the teal, are those owned by Mr. Bale, or is that different owner?
He can, I'm sure he can speak to that more. Philip, if you don't mind trying to click on the, you were asking Mr. Pax about that parcel in between?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same.
Sir?
Oh,
We
yeah.
can move on to
Wait.
the applicant's portion if.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
makes
fine.
sense. Yeah.
That's fine.
I'm gonna say, hold on, you have to be at the microphone and introduce yourself and say you've been sworn in. You're the applicant, I assume? Okay, please come forward if you want.
Sure. I'm Rick Bale, and I have been sworn in.
Okay.
Address.
And where do you live?
6258 Bale Canyon Road, which is one residence to the south of this one.
Okay,
Talk about.
thank you.
Yep. And did you want the question answered about that?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
so all three of those lots that are immediately south of that, that touch from north to south, are all my wife and my lots. Everything else was my mother's. She was the matriarch of the family, and she passed away at 99 in March, and so it was a part of her trust to separate off that house, that residence.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Are you the sole trustee of the trust now?
I'm the sole trustee.
Okay.
I don't really consider myself necessarily the owner, because I actually have to execute. And that's why we want to do this, is to help make the execution aligned with her will and her desires.
And the only part that she owned that's in the trust is that
No, she-
small rectangle?
She owned everything that's in the green.
Okay.
So basically, everything that's outlined there, we're talking about pulling off just the house to make it easier to split the properties among her children.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
The remaining farmland will remain in the trust, I assume?
The remaining farmland will be a part of what is divvied up. I mean, it'll be in trust only until we can execute the trust. And then it will be divided as the attorney recommends it. It would have been very cleanly all going to myself and my wife, but we had, because she had $250,000 a year in care because, you know, she had 24-hour care. We had to sell one of her other farms that was a part of her trust. So now it's likely that something here will go to one of my siblings. Not sure which, maybe the house.
Yeah.
Any other questions I can answer?
So you don't have an estate administration, you have just a trust that you're trying to distribute based on the language of the trust?
I have a trust, and what was the question? Whether
You don't have an estate administration open, there's not a probate estate
No,
open for her?
no.
It's just distribution from the
It's
trust?
it's all protected, yeah, with the trust.
I'm sorry, I'm asking this question, I'm an attorney that does this, and I'm not sure, I've never had anybody ask for a variance on a zoning issue to distribute.
Yeah, could
From
I
a trust.
walk to the thing and point a little bit for you?
Yeah.
So, and I'll do it to the one you guys can see here. That lot that he's circling there, or the other one, the one we're pulling off, we're trying to pull off. The reason why that is an issue here is because if you go to the right, you not only cross that other right of way, but you also have, you know, farmland, right? That property is the house, it's the only property with any value, you know, from a structure perspective. So that was going to be a part of her plan anyway, as a part of her trust, to pull it off so that there could be more flexibility in the execution of the trust, of the estate. Everything else, it makes it rough because it would have to cross, you know, our property to get to any of our other properties. So we can't like make it adjacent and make the 1.9 acres stretch to the left. You can't really make it very easily stretch to the right because you're separated by the road and another right of way. So it just makes it a little tough to do that, basically.
So did the county ask you to come to get a variance to partition that off based on their rules of partition? That's what I'm confused about, is typically if you own a large plot of land, you go through the rigmarole with the county of splitting that up and partitioning it off and creating a separate parcel.
Actually, my attorney or her attorney advised me to just talk to the township, so that's who we talked to.
Yeah.
Because she didn't even mention that we had to go to the county for any reason.
In reading the documents, support documents, it's mentioned about the conversation you have with zoning director Duffy regarding that. So the three possibilities or alternatives that she was presenting that I'm seeing here.
Yeah, Robin was presenting each of those alternatives, and he said that it seemed the most logical to request this one.
Right. So that just at least was a factor, I think, for me. I mean, the fact that you did consult, that was a recommendation that she was suggesting.
Right.
So, and I understand and appreciate she acknowledges also the fact that going across the right-of-way would be problematic with that parcel, to have it split to meet the minimum lot size requirement, which makes sense. I also acknowledge the fact that there's a roadway access or driveway coming into that parcel that's on the north side of the property, and then there's a separate driveway, basically, that comes on just on the south side of the subject property in question that allows you access that one right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that little finger going out there to Bale Canyon allows access to that back parcel, which I understand that's restricting your movement or ability to enlarge that parcel to the south. And then to the north, there's another property with a residence on it that you're pretty much locked there, but you're providing at least access off of Bale Canyon onto the subject property from that existing drive. So I'm basically just acknowledging, at least I'm going through the thought process that zoning director Duffy outlined.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's kind of her thought process, which acknowledges where you're coming from on the area that you're requesting on the parcel.
Correct.
So, appreciate that. Thank you.
Being a farm kid myself, many of our farms went across highways. And that was never an issue. What is the issue here that you don't go across the road and put the farmland in?
Well, the issue here was more how the property was going to be divided up, because the farmland was going to stay with me because I'm farming. And then the house was assumed by my mother to be something that would end up being an asset that could be distributed in another manner to one of the other children.
So could you continue farming assuming we move across the road, and that would be what, 6/10 of an acre? You could continue farming that with an agreement, whoever owned the house, right?
Yeah, you could. It'd just be, a little bit odd, because, yeah, it's 6/10 of a 7-acre field.
Yeah, no, I understand. I
And-
had
and
a
it-
5 or 10-acre field that I had 3 tenants,
Right.
so,
But they also may choose not to do that, and then they'd have to put a fence up in the middle of the field or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
okay.
I did have one other question. That large parcel that is with the white outbuilding or barn structure on it, to the south, actually, that one, that parcel, do you also own that one?
Yes, I do. That's a part of that southern parcel that is ours.
So, but those are two separate lots with that we can see there with the,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, the other one was added later. Basically, she granted 5 acres to my sister and then 5 acres to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I do want to touch on what Mr. McCoy mentioned in terms of the county process for the lot splits. So there is a process that regional planning has folks go through. They have a checklist. So after this step, the applicant would still need to talk to the county and proceed with getting the necessary approvals through the county. And there are a few technical agencies that sign off, but zoning is one of those agencies. So we're happy to give you the contact whom you need to speak with over at regional planning for that.
I didn't even know that, so thank you.
Mhm.
Well, I was asking, because I was like, is it the horse first and then the cart, or the cart and then the horse?
Yeah.
No questions.
No questions? All right, thank you. Any other people here to speak on this issue?
I'll make mention that we had some inquiries, I think 1 or 2, no more than 2, but it was general questions about what was being requested, and once we clarified, there was no true comment submitted for those.
Okay. Is anyone in a position you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Based on factors presented this evening, I move to approve case number VA-25-07 for property located at 6210 Bale Canyon Road, seeking an area variance from the Orange Township Zoning Resolution, Section 7.06A, to allow a new parcel to be 1.277 acres in size, which is 0.706 acres less than the minimum allowable lot area of 1.98 acres in a FR1 district.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Pack, seconded by Mr. Trevs. Those voting? Mr. Trevs,
Yes.
Mr. Toskey,
Yes.
Mr. Pax,
Yes.
Mr. Wellington,
Yes.
and Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
Motion carries. Variance is approved.
And just for everyone's benefit, you're more than welcome to stay, but after your case is heard, if you want to get home and do something else, feel free. All right, thank you. Eric?
We'll go into the next case tonight. That would be case number VA-25-08. The applicant and owner is Joseph and Ann Johnston. This parcel is located, the property is at 7001 Holderman Street in Lewis Center, zoning district, single-family planned residential district. So this request, well, I should state the lot size here is 0.403 acres in size. The request is an area variance from the rezoning case 12451 Estates of Glen Oak to allow for a multi-purpose concrete court, otherwise known as a sports court, to encroach 20 feet 0 inches into the 35-foot rear yard setback in an area zone single-family planned residential district. This is roughly a 57% variance request. The proposed court's area is 60 feet by 30 feet and will be placed 15 feet 0 inches from the rear property line. As stated already, the subject property is 7001 Holderman Street, and it's presently owned by Joseph and Ann Johnston. So the surrounding area, it's within the Estates of Glen Oak, so all 4 directions. There is single-family planned residential district zoning. The exception is to the west is farm residential district zoning as well. For the land use to the north, single-family residences. To the south is also single-family residences. To the east is single-family residences and Holderman Street. And then to the west is the Glen Oak Association land. It's a strip of land behind the homes, and then the railroad right-of-way. All right, the map view shows the railroad tracks. You can't really see that HOA-owned land, until we zoom in a little bit more. And we will see that here. Yep. So the land abuts that HOA land to the rear, and then you can see the landscaping, buffering area, as well as those railroad tracks. So the proposed court is slated to be put into what is the yard area right now and a couple of trees. This is necessitating an area variance from rezoning case 12451 Estates of Glen Oak due to that rear yard setback requirement of 35 feet. So the court will encroach 20 feet 0 inches into the 35-foot rear yard setback. This is roughly a 57% variance request from rezoning case 12451 Estates of Glen Oak. And there, if you look closely, you can see the dimensions 30 by 60 court with that 15-foot setback. Yep, thank you, Philip. And I think this is a slightly larger view just for good measure. And it does show 15 feet is also the side yard setback, which meets the requirements of the development plan. The next few exhibits are photos as well as some overlay showing annotations of where the dimensions of the court would be. I had put out cones for these site photos, but having the lines to delineate the boundaries of the court, we felt were pretty helpful. And this is facing east towards the rear of the home, of course. And the near cones represent the property line, and it's the larger cone where the cursor is. And then the 4 remaining cones represent the corners of the court, and then yellow lines added to identify those boundaries of the 30 by 60 area. This photo is facing north and shows the HOA-owned land with that hill, a fence, and I believe some landscaping behind that. And The cone is on the left side indicating the property line, and then the edge of the court is the cones to the right. So I realize the color is a little bit challenging, but the cursor is showing you where those boundaries, the court's edge is, which is that 15-foot distance from the property line. And last photo, just again taken east a little bit more zoomed in or close up to the property line edge, and then you can see 15 feet further is the corner of the proposed court. That takes us to the board analysis and criteria for your consideration.
Any questions for Eric?
Sorry, is the 35-foot setback, like, no structures? Like, this is considered, okay, thank you.
Correct. And this is considered a structure, it's impervious area, so whether it's patio that's concrete or a deck or a sports court, they all are subject to that 35-foot setback. I do want to make mention for the board's awareness that the homeowner is not able to attend tonight, but in lieu of that, I believe we do have at least one representative to speak on the homeowner's behalf. I think those are the neighbors, but they will stand up to the podium and clarify exactly which neighbors.
Applicant's substitute? Please identify yourself, name, address, and that you've been sworn in.
Sure. Nicholas Grizzle, 6957 Holderman Street, and yes, I've been sworn in.
And the gentleman behind you?
Hello, Joseph Schrummel, 7058 Holderman Street, and I've been sworn in.
Okay, thank you both. Who wants to take questions or tell us about this project?
And can you please, based on that plan, which property is your property?
Can I go?
Yeah.
Yeah, do it on this
South
side,
is at the
yeah.
bottom, south is at the bottom, and north is up, so.
So if we can zoom out a little bit.
Yeah, not really. Yeah. That helps.
Eric, do we have a laser pointer?
I mean,
I think we'll have to add that to the list of tools.
The street, 4, 5 houses up,
okay,
right, one more.
one more up there. All right, thank you.
And then
Okay.
one exactly is the,
Next one.
That one, or there,
So
So-
close neighbors.
close neighbors.
five,
Okay.
five away. Okay. Do we have, a question, Eric, do we have any commentary or any kind of comments from the adjacent neighbors?
There is a list of comments in
yes.
front of you. I didn't pinpoint on the map beforehand if they were adjacent or if they were close by, very close.
You have one from the house just below this south, that's the Devon Road.
That one,
Yeah, there,
that-
6991,
That one right there.
that's right there, that's the key one, okay, thank you.
You have that, yep.
Eric, there also is a concern, I see, from the resident of 2850 Waterford Drive. It would be helpful to understand where in proximity that residence is in relation to this.
Yeah, looking that address up, it is fairly significant distance away. It's not in the immediate neighborhood. Philip, if you would be so kind to plug that in, 2850 Waterford.
That's interesting. That's weird. Yeah,
What was it?
2850 Waterford. Thank you. So, one of the things we do send out are notices to HOAs. This might have been one of those individuals who was informed by the HOA farther away that this was a case for tonight's meeting.
Yeah.
But then we also have different avenues that people get notices through
Why are they still in Orange
listservs.
Township?
So it could have been one of those methods, I'm not sure.
Hey.
We're looking down here.
Mhm.
Not exactly close.
Yeah.
That'd be some loud basketballs, I'll tell
I
you.
do have comments on that concern of hers. She talked about the location of the court should be moved up closer
Right.
to the house,
Mhm.
help with noise with the neighbors, but there are no houses behind them, obviously, that's a railroad and a HOA lot, so I feel where they're looking to do this actually makes the most sense in terms of noise.
Right.
Even if you just
I would agree.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand that, but yeah, it's weird.
Eric, just for clarification, to the west of the railroad tracks, was that a commercial building?
I believe Plan Industrial.
That's
Yeah.
law
Yeah.
industries,
Yes.
Question on the placement of it. According to the pictures that were taken, it looks like it encompasses one of the small pine trees.
The trees on their lot.
Yeah, right there, the one on the right of the picture, looks like it's sitting kinda in that corner, essentially.
Correct, and there were 3 or 4 more, you can kind of see
Yeah, the,
the outline of
Dirt.
where they were
Yeah.
on the back there. And then if you come further west, between the HOA and the railroad, there's a whole line of, I don't know if there are privacy lines.
my question is as follows. They're 20 feet into the 35-foot setback. They've already sacrificed that one tree. What's prohibiting them from moving it closer to the house?
I think to counter the letter that was sent on the noise thing, is the further back would be less noisy for the houses that are along Holden.
Okay? Sound carries very well in an open field. I don't see that 20 feet would make a difference in the sound level, but we can dispute that or discuss that at another time. But that was the reason they put it as far back as they did?
I think also they wanted to maintain some of that,
Thank you.
I think they wanted to maintain some of that grass, green area, that, butted up to their patio. So they wanted it as far back on their property as possible, which,
Okay,
there's a hill, privacy trees and tracks, so.
yeah. But the thing is that that's a huge encroachment into the 35-foot setback. Were they aware of the setback when they started this project?
Not to my knowledge. I think that's why they go through this process.
Okay. Other questions?
I will say this family has quadruplets, all going into 6th grade, very active family, so pickleball is something that brings the family together and gets them outside, stays active.
Would you say that they're good neighbors?
Yeah, very good.
I think my concern has less to do with an amenity that I think is actually going to increase the value of the home. Yet pickleball, notoriously really high decibel volume. I think, do you assume that these neighbors are going to be respectful and responsible about, play during normal hours?
I absolutely do. They're a great family. I don't see this being something that goes into the night. I think, like you said, the kids are all in 6th grade, going into 6th grade. There's also a basketball court that they put in as part of this for 2 of the kids. But no, great family.
I'll mention there's 2 in-ground pools that also on Holderman Street that back up to the railroad tracks, similar lot sizes. There's
Yeah, we see one of them right there.
one, and there's a newer one, I think right where your cursor is.
Yeah.
It should be the Knott family, KNOTT.
It may have been, yeah, dated, yeah, an
Understand.
older view.
Eric, say for instance, we approve this variance and they're allowed to pour concrete back there. Then they would put lights up.
Mm.
Is that another variance? Because you're building an additional structure?
I-
I guess,
Well-
you know,
Yeah.
are you getting everything you're getting by allowing this to occur? Or is there, oh, well, now we want to play at night. Now we want to put a fence up. Now we want to,
Well, that would be a structure, less than 100 square feet. That being said, there may be something, in terms of a lighting restriction in the development text. I'm not sure how specific about lighting in the development text is, but we would have to look into that. I didn't look into that as of today's report.
yeah. I don't like the 57% variance. However, it's a unique location that backs up against railroad tracks. And what I wouldn't want to do is open up a can of worms that, just because we said it's okay to pour the court, doesn't mean it's okay to do
Yeah.
a lot of these other things.
Yeah, they wouldn't necessarily be pulling a separate zoning permit for lighting. However, they would need to look into their HOA type requirements accordingly and make sure that they're in compliance there. And there are also standards in the general development code that prohibit light trespass. So cutoff fixtures, things like that would still need to be, just like if you have spotlights that are shining out into your yard, that those are also meeting the general development code. So there would be.
Because if I did this in my house, I'd probably go hog wild later on, if I had more money. If I had more money, there'd be stands and all kinds of stuff.
To your point, if you looked at where my house was, this wouldn't work in my backyard, but it is unique given their layout on .4 acres. It's the size
But-
that they have, the depth there.
The kids are sixth grade now. That means
They grow.
Yeah,
they grow, and all the kids have left. Mom and dad want a different house. Now that new neighbor moves in, they think, well, I got a concrete patio out there already. I'm gonna put in a 40 by 60 building. The foundation's already there.
I don't think the HOA would approve that.
Yeah. To my knowledge, doing something that intensifies that from the pad would need to be looked at again by the BZA. You're not granting a structure
Yeah.
from 0 to 35 feet at this point. You're granting the variance specific to the sports court.
Sure.
It-
I'm just saying, I know, I've seen how this moves over time.
And to your point about the lighting, that's one of my primary concerns. I'm almost wondering whether we can put some kind of a, I don't want to say codicil, or something in this approval, if I'm even considering the approval, that would restrict that ability to put lighting on that court. I mean, that's a concern even from the high school and middle school, but on a residential property, if they were to put lights up there, it just encourages night play, more disturbance to the residents. During the day, it's okay. And but when it starts to get dark, that's when people want sound control a little more. And with lighting, high school kids are out there partying and throwing basketballs around, doing everything, and the lights would encourage it. So that would be my only reservation to your point you're bringing up about the lighting, that I agree. I just don't know if we have any standing and ability to do that within an approval.
Yeah. I haven't seen a situation quite like this. However, there are those regulations, especially general development standards, that restrict things like light trespass. So
I don't know.
it's up to you ultimately as the board if you feel that that would be kind of effectual enough, if that would have enough effect with what you're trying to do.
Eric, a quick question for you. If they were to build this concrete pad without the variance, which means it wouldn't apply to the setback, would we have any say in them putting lights up anyway? Would they even have to go through the zoning process, or would that just be with their HOA?
Correct, that would be more the latter, because we wouldn't have them pull a zoning permit for individual lights. The
So if they
lights are-
wanted to do it, really, they would just go through the HOA if it was permissible, and they could put lights up anyway. It
Yep,
just, yeah.
and that being said, we would still have to make sure it's complying with the
course.
trespass standards.
Of course.
It's a good point. Good point.
And if they went ahead and did it anyway, it would be in violation because they've exceeded their 35-foot setback. The
Yes, if
recourse,
if they built this without the zoning permit,
yeah,
Of course.
they would be in violation of the development code as it's described in 12, I'm trying to remember the number. And then we would issue the zoning violation notice, and it would have to be brought into compliance either with a variance or by scaling it back to meet the setback.
jackhammering it at the line.
Yes.
And the reason I brought it up, we've seen cases in which they've gone ahead and just done it. And then we had a long discussion about how to correct it. So. Any other questions?
The three letters that we have in support, one of them is an immediate next door neighbor, only one. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, not everybody responds either way.
I appreciate the actual letters in support and getting, contacting neighbors before making the application.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd feel really good if the other neighbor next door had a letter attached.
Sure.
But since they're not here, we can't question them either,
No.
so that's
No,
another
it's not
issue.
something to consider.
Thank you, gentlemen. I don't think we have any other questions for you, and thanks for substituting. Anybody have a motion they want to make?
I'll do it if I can find the language.
It's the back page.
Back page.
Based on our discussion, the factors presented here regarding this variance request, I move to approve case number VA 2508 for property located at 7001 Holderman Street, Lewis Center, Ohio, seeking an area variance from rezoning case number 12451, Estates of Glen Oak, for a multi-purpose concrete court to encroach 20 feet into the 35-foot rear yard setback in a single-family planned residential district.
Second?
Motion made by Mr. McCoy, seconded by Mr. Totsky. Those voting, Mr. Trevs,
No?
Mr. Totsky,
Yes.
Mr. Pax,
Yes.
Mr. Wellington,
Yes.
and Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1. Variance is approved.
Thank you all.
Now we're up to the third item of business, new business tonight. And that is sign request, conditional use, request for a monument sign. That's to be at the site 6853 Green Meadows Drive, and the applicant being New Gen Racket Club LLC. The applicant for this request is Sign Vision Company. This is a 3.73 acre parcel where the zoning district is planned commercial and office district. So the applicant is seeking conditional use from section 22.04A of the Orange Township zoning resolution to allow for the installation of a monument-style sign on a property zone planned commercial and office district under rezoning case 01-22-05. Subject parcel is located at 6853 Green Meadows Drive, parcel ID 318-230-25001-001, and is owned, as I stated, by New Gen Racket Club. So the surrounding area, looking to the north, the zoning district is planned commercial office district. Land use is the under construction Cologix Data Center. To the south, the zoning district is planned industrial district. The land uses include old, I should take out that one. It's specifically, I believe, we're needing to indicate a couple manufacturing type light industrial uses, warehouse. To the east is the railroad corridor, and beyond the railroad corridor, Delco Water Company Basin. So those, Delco Water being utilities, and land uses are, again, the same there. And to the west is zone planned industrial district. That includes actually wooded area. That retention pond is to the south, and other planned industrial uses to the west. All right. So this aerial is, I wanted to note, a little bit out of date because there is active construction going on that larger site to the north, future Cologix Data Center. But this is just off of Green Meadows Drive and between the railroad corridor. There's the retention pond I was trying to refer to immediately to the south. And the site is fully built out with the exception of some more topical aesthetic improvements, including landscaping, I believe, is outstanding. But the parking areas have been installed, drive aisles. The buildings are in full completion status. So this is a conditional use request. There is no variance being requested here. I'm going to jump down through the conditional use text to the criteria that we provided responses to, starting with number 3A. So this is a determination that the proposed sign meets all of the following requirements. The proposed monument, the sign is a monument-style freestanding sign. The applicant is proposing a monument-style freestanding sign as shown in Exhibit 1 following. For B, the maximum height of such sign does not exceed 8 feet above the average grade of the site, and the sign is located at the distance from any street right-of-way line as required. According to Exhibit 1, the proposed sign will be 3 feet 6 inches tall from grade to top of the sign. The sign is proposed to be approximately 30 feet and 9 inches from the property line adjoining the right-of-way off Green Meadows Drive. The sign meets this standard. The sign does not have more than 2 sides or surfaces. The sign as proposed will have 2 sides as shown. The display area of any one side or surface does not exceed 1/2 the total display area permitted. The permitted area for the sign in its location is 64 square feet. So the total sign area of each side of this sign totals 12 7/10 square feet, so the sign meets this standard. For E, the total display area of all surfaces does not exceed 32 square feet or maximum of 16 square feet per side or surface when the sign is located 15 feet from the primary frontage street right-of-way line. For each 1 foot setback from the street right-of-way line, an additional 8 square feet of total display area or maximum of 4 square feet per side or surface will be permitted, up to a maximum of 128 square feet of total display area or a maximum of 64 square feet per side or surface as permitted. The proposed one-sided sign will be this is a double side. So two-sided sign will be 12.7 square feet per side. The sign will be set back 30 feet and 9 inches from the right-of-way line along Green Meadows Drive, so 64 square feet total is permitted, and the sign meets the standard. Not more than 5 colors are used. For the purpose of this section, black and white shall not be considered colors. The sign meets this standard. And then no part of such sign will be closer to any street right-of-way line than 15 feet, nor closer to any other property line than the applicable building setback line if the adjoining property is in a residential district. So the sign will be set back 30 feet 9 inches from the street right-of-way line, which meets this standard. you can read through the others. We did not find any compliance issues or variances in any of the other sections as required by the conditional use. All right, so the exhibits, this is the elevation view. It shows the dimensions of the sign, again, 3 feet and 6 inches above grade. And then 72 inches for the base width, and I believe that's 70 inches for the cabinet width. The next exhibit is the site plan, which is fairly zoomed out. We will zoom in the next exhibit, but the proposed monument sign is generally located on the western side of the site with a location denoted by that red arrow. And then next exhibit shows that measurement of 30 feet and 9 inches setback. All right. The last portion is the conditional use board analysis criteria for your consideration.
Is the applicant here?
The applicant was informed. We had spoken, or at least communicated via email, that this meeting was to occur tonight, so we had expected to see an applicant. If the board doesn't have any questions, they can proceed with moving forward, making a motion, but
Okay.
ultimately it's your decision.
Gentlemen, questions?
On the stone, it's HDU. Do we have anything like, I guess like I'm trying to understand like natural stone versus fake stone? Is there, okay. I don't have any.
We don't have a standard that requires a real stone. We do require that the base be as wide as the display area of the sign or wider, and that it be a solid, opaque base.
Yeah,
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Solid.
yeah.
It could be a vinyl.
Correct, there are examples in the township, correct.
And I'm assuming it's lit interior.
No,
but
non-illuminated
Not illuminated.
on the top
Okay.
of the exhibit, which is even better, yeah.
That's even better, yeah. And there's nothing in there about that, okay. I was thinking if they had light shining up on it too, but that's not in there.
It's true, it's a good point, Jim. I don't see it, but that would been a good question. Yeah.
If somebody wants to make a motion, if we're comfortable with everything,
I am. I'll make a motion.
okay.
Based upon discussion, I move to approve case number CU 2509 for the property located at 6853 Green Meadows Drive, Lewis Center, Ohio, seeking a conditional use from the Orange Township Zoning Resolution Article 22.04A to allow for the construction of a monument sign in an area zoned planned commercial and office district, PC.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Pack, seconded by Mr. Wellington. Those voting, Mr. Krebs,
Yes.
Mr. Totsky,
Yes.
Mr. Pax,
Yes?
Mr. Wellington.
Yes.
And Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, so the last of the, I should say, last two requests are both related, given that there's the same ownership, but they are on different parcels, so we have to break them down by individual cases. But I will move right along into variance case VA-CU-25-10. This parcel is at the corner of US 23 and East Powell Road. This is specifically 100 Green Meadows Drive South. The applicant owner is Nationwide Realty Investors and 100 Green Meadows Drive LLC. This is a 28.68 acre parcel, zoned planned commercial and office district. The applicant is seeking 4 area variances from the Orange Township zoning resolution to allow for a monument sign that exceeds the maximum allowable display area, that exceeds the maximum permitted height, and has a base that is less than the width of the display area. Also being requested is variance to allow more than one monument freestanding sign per parcel for each business, or for one business to have more than one monument sign. Furthermore, the applicant is requesting a conditional use for the monument sign. The subject parcel is located by owned by 100 Green Meadows Drive LLC, and it's been the location for the Nationwide Hotel and Conference Center. An exterior modifications permit under permit number 2024-0545 was approved on October 31st, 2024 for this site to undergo changes, including a new patio area with retaining walls, seating walls, grill and cooking area that had concrete footers along the southeast side of the primary building. So the surrounding area, this direction, looking to the north, this is a planned commercial office district zoned land. The land uses there include a Getco Fuel Center and other commercial uses. To the south, the zoning district is planned industrial district. Land uses include Expedient Data Center and other industrial uses. To the east is planned industrial district zoning, and land uses include vacant planned industrial zoned parcels, include Green Meadows Drive right-of-way, and also other industrial uses. Then to the west, the zoning is Metro Park's own land. Land uses is both High Banks Metro Park and the US 23 corridor. I started with the zoomed in view in this case. So this is that larger 28-acre parcel, has the primary hotel, conference center, building, parking areas, retention pond, as you can see. The signs being requested here, one is on the southwest side of very near to the intersection of Green Meadows and US 23, and then the other one is just east of there at the driveway entrance, where you see that driveway stem connecting from Green Meadows Drive south. And you're all quite familiar, I'm sure, with the general location, but we added this map anyway, zoomed out view, and then included the township location with some of the Columbus annexation areas to the southeast. All right, so the staff review, this is a conditional use for monument sign, and I had to break this down by both monument signs, so there are two conditional uses here. So bear with me as I go through each and every factor for your consideration. So for this one at US 23, again, it's the southwest corner of the parcel near to the intersection of Green Meadows Drive South and US 23. The sign is a monument-style freestanding sign, is the first criteria. The applicant is proposing a monument-style freestanding sign as shown in Exhibit 1. For B, the maximum height of such sign does not exceed 8 feet above the average grade of the site, and the sign is located at the distance from any street right-of-way line as required. According to Exhibit 1, the proposed sign will be 18 feet 0 inches and exceeds the required height by 10 feet and 0 inches. So the variance here is being requested. For C, the sign does not have more than 2 sides or surfaces as shown. The proposed sign will have 2 sides as shown. For D, the display area of any one side or surface does not exceed 1/2 of the total display area permitted. The single sign face totals approximately 197 7/10 square feet, when only 64 square feet per face is permitted. So variance is being requested. The total display area of all surfaces does not exceed 32 square feet, or a maximum of 16 square feet per side or surface when the sign is located 15 feet from the primary frontage street right-of-way line. For each additional 1 foot setback from the street right-of-way line, an additional 8 square feet of total display area, or maximum of 4 square feet per side or surface will be permitted, up to a maximum of 128 square feet of total display area, or maximum of 64 square feet per side or surface as permitted. The proposed 2-sided sign will total approximately 197 7/10 square feet per side, and 395 and 4/10 for both sides. So the sign will be set back 28 feet and 5 inches from the right-of-way line along US 23, and only 64 square feet per side is permitted, so 64 square feet is the maximum. Variance is being requested here as well. No part of such sign will be any closer to any street right-of-way line than 15 feet, nor closer to any property line than the applicable building setback line if if the adjoining property is in a residential district. The proposed sign will be set back 28 feet and 5 inches from the street right-of-way line, and it does meet this standard, but I don't know if the residential district applies. Okay, so I think that's all we had for that first sign. Staff review continues with the next sign at the main driveway entrance. I'll go down through the same criteria, but providing responses to this particular sign. The sign is a monument-style freestanding sign. The applicant is proposing a monument-style freestanding sign as shown in Exhibit 1 below. The maximum height of such sign does not exceed 8 feet above the average grade of the site. All right, and the sign is located at the distance from any street right-of-way line as required. According to Exhibit 1, the proposed sign will be 5 feet 9 inches tall, which meets the above standard. And we'll get into the setback variance in a moment. The sign does not have more than 2 sides or surfaces. This sign, as proposed, will have 1 side as shown. The display area of any 1 side or surface does not exceed 1/2 of the total display area permitted. The single sign face total is approximately 98 and 1/10 square feet per side, when only 56 square feet per side or per face is permitted. So this is a variance request, with the 56 square feet given the setback being the maximum that they can go. And so I'm going to skip through this text because you've already heard it once. So this is a 1-sided sign, will total approximately 98 and 1/10 square feet per side. The sign will be set back 25 feet and 1/2 inches from the right-of-way line along Green Meadows Drive, so only 56 square feet per side is permitted. So it's similar, but it's, again, the same, saying that there is a variance for the size of the sign being requested. All right, I think this is the last one. Yes. No part of such sign will be closer to any street right-of-way line than 15 feet, nor closer to any property line than the applicable building setback line if the adjoining property is in residential district. The proposed sign will be set back 25 feet, 5 1/2 inches from the street right-of-way line, which does meet this standard. Okay. All right. So I apologize, it's hopefully as we go through this and you can see the diagrams as well as the site plans, you'll get a better sense of which numbers belong to which sign. But we're starting with the first conditional use, which is that southwest corner proposed monument sign. The monument sign would be 28 feet and 5 inches away from the edge of the right-of-way of US 23. So you can see that measurement in Exhibit 1. There are existing signs here, and I wanted to put them on the same page for your comparison. The applicant had indicated the approximate height of the previous sign as 17 feet and 9 inches. The proposed sign has larger display area, and it's slightly taller at 18 feet and 0 inches. It's also wider as well, 12 feet and 0 inches, whereas the existing sign is at 7 feet, approximately 7 feet 4 inches. This is a more zoomed-in view, but it shows the measurement that encompasses Green Meadows Corporate Park, because that's not just address numbers, that refers to the development. So that's 197.7 square feet per side. So here's the first area variance. I tried to number these so all of us can keep track more clearly. This is area variance from section 22.04A3B. which requires that the maximum height of such sign does not exceed 8 feet above the average grade of the site, and the sign is located at the distance from the street, from any street right-of-way line indicated below. So the monument sign at US 23 is proposed to be 18 feet, which represents a 10-foot variance request. And then this is a roughly 125% variance request from section 22.04A3B. Number 2, the second area variance, that's from section 22.04A3E, which states in part the following, and the total display area is restricted as per the table in the staff report following. So the display area of the monument sign at US 23 is proposed to be 197.7 square feet per side, which exceeds the maximum of 64 square feet of area per side or surface by 133.7 square feet. This is a roughly 208% variance request. All right, so for the base width, that's what we're indicating here in Exhibit Exhibit 5. This brings us to our third area variance request. Section 22.04A states in part the following: monument-style freestanding signs, which are defined as signs directly supported by and affixed directly to a base, having a width at least equal to that of the sign. The base width of the monument sign at US 23 is proposed to be 6 feet, and while the display area the display width is 12 feet. So a variance of 6 feet and 0 inches is being requested. This is a 50% variance request. All right, we're going to transition to the next sign and the variance requests for that sign. So this is at the main driveway entrance. You can see the measurement that staff obtained is 25 feet 5.5 inches setback from the right-of-way. Next page shows the existing sign at 6 feet tall and approximately 16 feet wide versus in Exhibit 8 there. The new sign would be a little bit shorter, slightly shorter at 5 feet 9 inches, and then wider sign at 23 feet and 8 inches. The way we measured the width is slightly wider than that 23 feet and 8 inches. I will get to that in just a second. Okay, so Exhibit 9 shows you the construction diagram from top-down perspective. And then Exhibit 10 is staff's measurement, which with this being a radial measurement, we obtained 24 feet and 1/4 inches width. All right, the fourth area variance being requested is the display area for this sign. The display area of the monument sign at the main driveway measures 24 feet 1/4 inches by 4 feet and 1 inches high atop a 17-inch tall base, which equals a total display area of 98 1/10 square feet. This exceeds the allowable display area per side by 42 square feet. This is roughly a 75% variance request. And then for the fifth area variance, this is from section 22.04A5. So this is the second variance for this sign. It states in part the following: not more than one monument sign may be authorized for any one business establishment. So this is two area variances two signs freestanding on the same parcel for this particular business. So only one is permitted per the code, and then this is the reason for that variance, that being a variance. Okay. I tried to break the analyses down for the board by, like I did for the conditional uses, by each sign. So if you have any questions or you're a little bit confused about which sign we're talking about, I'm more than happy to point you to the diagrams and explain what refers to which sign at that point. So please let me know if you have any questions at this time. know there's a little bit of confusion because you don't always get two signs on the same parcel. So please let me know if you need more clarification.
So Eric, the one on 23 is 18 feet tall.
Correct.
The one on Powell is how tall?
We're not there to the Powell one yet, so
Thank you.
we're only talking about the
Thank you.
one
Okay,
Green
at the
line.
driveway entrance as well.
It's this brick one.
okay.
But also to clarify, the one on 23, the existing nationwide sign is already 17 feet, 9 inches tall.
Correct.
So the change
indicated
is nominal.
for the height, and then it is a fair margin wider for the new
Yeah.
sign. Yep.
Is the applicant here?
My name is Dave Holtzmuller. I'm here on behalf of Nationwide Realty Investors. My address is 375 North Front Street in Columbus. And I was sworn in. So happy to be here. Appreciate your consideration. Nationwide's making a significant investment in trying to enhance this hotel and conference center. We're doing a rebranding and we're in the midst of a renovation. And so we're really just trying to upgrade the signs around campus to reflect the elevated hospitality experience that we're trying to achieve. So that's really what this is about. Happy to answer any questions.
How do you say the name?
Ohioan.
Ohioan?
Ohio.
And is that the original name? Is that what it said in the application?
It's not the original
Okay.
name, but it's meant to be reflective of the history and Nationwide purchased this asset in the 1950s. And it's gone through several rebrands and renovations, and this is meant to achieve an elevated hospitality experience and really cater to the social events and weddings, that sort of thing. So we're excited about it. No question.
No questions?
How long have the original signs been there? Or the current signs? I don't want to say original because they're probably not there from 1950.
It's a good question. Probably not since 1950, Catherine.
No, the hotel and conference center went,
You can come up. Catherine's with Columbus Hospitality, they're our manager from there.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for your kind consideration this evening. My name is Catherine Burton. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Columbus Hospitality Management, and I also have the pleasure of being the former General Manager of Nationwide Hotel and Conference Center. I served that property for 3.5 years during that rebranding, the previous rebranding from Nationwide Hotel and Conference, from North Point Hotel and Conference Center to Nationwide Hotel and Conference Center. That happened approximately 9 to 10 years ago.
Okay, and your address, and you
Yes.
were sworn in?
I was not sworn in.
Okay.
Okay. But my address is 11641 Balla Road in Orient, Ohio.
And please raise your right hand.
Yes, sir.
And do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, state, I do.
I do.
Thank you. Since we're a judicial body, we have to make sure those things are done. Quasi-judicial.
But neither of you know the answer to my question, correct?
I think it's been about 9 to 10 years.
9 to 10 years since that sign? Okay. And so 9 to 10 years ago, they had to get a variance to put in the sign that they have now?
If it was within the 9 to 10 year period, it's my understanding that the same code that you're looking at now was being enforced, correct? But
I have a general question on it also. I always had assumed that was, property was primarily targeting towards Nationwide for across the United States, people coming in for training, et cetera. You had mentioned weddings, reception, that kind of thing. So are you targeting and opening it up? I mean, do you already do that with the general public?
Yeah, so it's already used by the general public, and it is open. There's been a lot of, in the past, and even now, there's training that goes on there for Nationwide. A lot of that training has been moved downtown to One Nationwide Plaza. And so part of the rebrand and the renovation is to cater more towards the third-party clientele, weddings, social events. Still do meetings, still do conferences, but we're hoping to get more social gatherings
Thank you.
Question about the size. Yeah, I understand that the current sign is 17 feet tall, but you've more than doubled the area of it. What is your justification other than, I like that size?
Yeah, so, you know, a significant amount, you might be surprised at how much thought and consideration goes into the size. And, you know, we worked with Signcom, who's our signage consultant, our marketing team, to figure out, you know, based on the location of the sign, the setback, the different landscaping, trees around it, the power lines that run up and down Powell Road, and also 23, mostly 20, a lot on 23. And then what the speed limit is on the traffic to size the sign appropriately. It's important to, you know, it's obviously visibility is important. We don't want it too big, and we definitely don't want it too small. We want people to be able to see it, you know, as they're driving up 23 and know where to turn off. So it's partly, I mean, that's why the sign obviously on 23 is large. Sign on Powell Road is, you know, the size that it is. And then the sign on Green Meadows isn't as tall because it doesn't need to be, because people are kind of, they see the sign up going up 23 to the north, they turn off, they know where that entrance is, they're slowed down. So it's really, you know, that's how we evaluate it.
And are you aware of the possible changes to US 23 in the next 5 years?
Yes.
And you
Which
think
is
this?
another reason why, you know, we feel like we need a, you know, fairly significant.
No.
More land.
I'm not even sure you're gonna be able to turn.
I think the plans that we've seen, which aren't final, I don't think, from ODOT, there will be a way to turn off onto Green Meadows.
Off on Green Meadows, but if you're coming south on US 23, you cannot cross. You would have to have it on Powell Road. And Eric, I'm not sure, is Powell an exchange?
As the applicant stated, to my knowledge, those plans are still being refined, and there aren't concrete answers as far as what some of these interchanges are going to look like. I know that some concepts have proposed something to the effect of what you're talking about, but nothing at this point, as far as I'm aware, is to a finalized degree of refinement. So that it's still ongoing discussions, and it could look, I believe, drastically different when they settle on what kind of improvements they'll actually make.
So a roundabout, right?
Diverting time.
We're following that very closely, by the way.
Yeah, I would hope so.
A quick comment, I think ultimately it sounds like this is a rebrand to benefit the broader Lewis Center and greater community. I think the width of the sign is justified. If you look at the original sign, what you see is the Nationwide logo. And if the
Yeah.
target audience is going to be the broader community, I think people need to see it to know about it, especially if it's going to be a new concept.
Is the current sign illuminated?
There's a light that shines on it. It's not
Is this
solid.
one going to be the same?
Same. Oh, yeah, go, you probably have to get sworn into your.
Niels Brown, address is, 527 West Rich Street. I'm with Signcom. The sign right now is internally illuminated, and the sign that we're proposing actually has halo illuminated text on it, so the whole cabinet doesn't light up. So one of the things that we look at when we're looking at sizing is the dark color that's part of the brand, but it recedes, so it tends to shrink in the space. It's a very big space, and so if we put a small sign, in order for that to stand out, it would have to be a much brighter sign. The problem is that we end up with a really small letter height for the wide word Ohioan. So we looked at all of that and thinking about scale, and we evaluate all of that. We do a lot of Photoshop renderings, drawing it at different sizes to see what is going to actually be visible. And one of the big concerns is all the traffic changes that are gonna be happening on 23. So we know we need to be able to communicate to people from a greater distance, and we know that we sort of need to create these landmarks, which really just get us to the street that gets you to the front door. That's why we have this third sign, which is the lower monument. Less of a monument sign, more of it, think of it as a gateway, like a threshold like you would find for a traditional university campus or something like that. So that's why we sort of play with those different scales, and they communicate differently.
So when you say halo, explain
So-
that to stupid here.
No, that's fine. So halo illuminated means that we've got channel letters, so they're dimensional letters, but instead of the face of those letters lighting up, they are open in the back, and the light shines back on the sign. So really all you're seeing at night is basically a halo illumination of the words. The faces of the letters themselves don't light up. So it's a much more subtle. You don't get the light pollution that you do if you're blasting light out the front of the sign, and it's a much more refined look.
Sophisticated sign.
Yeah,
Versus, I mean, I like the sign better than the white nationwide.
There, that
Yeah.
graphic right there presents, you can kind of see the back, how the halo letter and the offset from the background would work then.
The context is really weird there too, because it's one of those things where you're never gonna see a person walking right next to it, so you never get that sense of scale to go like, oh, it's a really enormous sign. By the time it's 30 feet away from the road and no one is standing near it, there's no sidewalk there, it shrinks down quite a bit.
The black's not illuminated other than the
Sunlight or,
radiant light off of it at nighttime.
Yeah.
You know what, you understand what I mean? Just the,
It's a good question. I mean, you have no uplight on this. It's purely just this halo letter that's going to be illuminated, is
I
that
did
correct?
not notice any lights. I wasn't specifically looking for ground lights when I was out measuring the existing sign. I believe that it's all just internally lit, other than those letters that are on the brick base. And those are there because of an agreement that I think that that Nationwide has with some of the neighbors or the association that's there. So we have to show that on here because that's, I think they're still discussing how that can be expressed.
and those are currently just sort of,
Those are just stainless steel tin-mounted
Yeah.
letters, no illumination.
They're also on the existing
Yeah.
south.
Yeah, see it.
what was your metric for how far back you're making this sign visible?
I've driven by it a number of times in my own car, just looking, and then walking up and down the road and just taking lots of pictures. And then, as a matter of fact, even today, because we want to continue to fine tune and make sure
Sure.
that we're doing the right thing. So even today, I rode passengers, my wife drove up and down the street a bunch of times as we're sort of battling traffic and semi-trucks and people jumping lanes and basically just trying to get as many pictures as I can. And then it's interesting to go back and look through these photographs. I mean, we don't generally study signs this much when we're just driving around, right? It either jumps out and tells you, hey, a giant eagle's here, because it's the right size and you see it, or you don't notice it till the last minute. When you do go and you look back through pictures and you're scanning the entire thing, trying to find the white signs that are there now, it's kind of interesting. I know right now that if those signs were, if the skinny one right now was a darker color, you'd hardly notice it. You'd be on top of it before you even notice it. So I'm looking at it and going like, you're gonna need to have you're gonna need to see the sign, and within a couple of 100 feet, you're gonna need to turn off. So we need to be able to see it far enough back to make that determination.
Okay, why is there no directional arrow or something on here?
Really, it's marking, it's like a gateway marker. Essentially, the presence of that sign marks the.
There's
whole
no
corner of the
gate
campus.
there.
Correct, but that whole corner is essentially this campus. So you were basically marking.
I
the same way
understand that, but you gotta direct them in to get to the driveway to actually get back, right?
Yes, but we would have to have an arrow on it. We'd have to have it closer to the street and serve as you need a wayfinding sign for that. The same way that when you show up on Ohio State's campus, the first sign is not hey, Ohio State is this way. It's just a sign that says, you've arrived at the edge of Ohio State University, the Ohio State University. So we're sort of using this kind of a sign, that the
Okay.
arrow on it serves that same function.
I'm just saying if you're on High Street, you can see the opening and turn in.
With this, if we needed a wayfinding sign, we'd need to have that before the intersection, and then it's a wayfinding sign, it's just a much more institutional looking sign
Yeah.
with arrows and a directory on it.
I think most people are gonna have it in their GPS anyhow, so.
They do, so really marking the campus ends up being the most bang for the buck.
Yeah. Any other questions?
That's
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
From the crowd, anyone else? Does anyone else want to stay?
No further questions? No further questions.
Oh,
There's a few other people out there. I don't know if they want to testify.
are there other comments from the public? Okay.
Also wanted to bring to your attention the same public commenter from the earlier case had also provided comment that is before you written out, essentially to articulate level of opposition to these signs based on their proposed scale, the area that they're being proposed and the like.
And also the ability to see around them to enter and exit, I think was on one of them.
Right. Aside from that, I received no other public comment on these two signs.
Eric, just one thing, and I think you had it in here. If you tear down an existing sign, regardless of when it went in, you're now under the current code, because when you put a sign back even at the same location.
If you're putting in a replacement sign, so entirely removing, not rebuilding, correct. It would be subject to the current code requirements.
Okay. I'm trying to find it when it starts.
So yeah,
Thank you.
just for your awareness, wanted to make mention that the area variances are all first, and
Yeah.
then the conditional uses follow. I think the practice of doing the area variances first just works the best, and that's the order that I have them.
Any other questions?
So page 15 has our first area variance. And this is the one that is talking about 8 feet above grade, and we're currently at 18 feet above grade.
Correct.
So even if the existing sign was there at 25 feet, they tear it down, we have to go by the 8 feet.
Yeah, those of you who were here for the Nissan case,
Yeah.
this should remind you of that in many ways, because the same scenario was at play. Those signs, for certain reasons, were very tall. One was even taller than the existing signs here. So you're looking at being, needing to comply with the current code.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so from page 21, we've got the motions for the area variance on the monument sign height.
Make a motion.
Okay?
Based on these factors, I move to approve case number VACU 2510 for the property located at 100 Green Meadows Drive South, Lewis Center, Ohio, and the monument sign identified in exhibits numbers 1 through 5 of this report for an area variance from the Orange Township zoning resolution, section 22.04A3B, to increase the permitted height of the monument sign from 8 feet to 18 feet in an area zone plan, commercial and office district, PC.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Wellington, seconded by Mr. Pax. Those voting, Mr. Travis,
No.
Mr. Totsky,
Yes.
Mr. Pax,
Yes.
Mr. Wellington,
Yes.
and Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
Motion passes or carries 4-1. Variance is approved for the height.
I move to deny case VACU 2510 for the property located at 100 Green Meadows Drive South, Lewis Center, Ohio, and the monument sign that is identified as exhibits 1 through 5 in this report for the area variance in Orange Township zoning resolution, section 22.04A3E, to increase the permitted area of the monument sign from 64 square feet to 197 square feet per side in the area zoned planned commercial and office district PC because of the criteria that we use, and there's 7 of them. I just think this is too excessive here. So that's my motion to deny.
You still need a second.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Travis, seconded by Mr. Pax. Those voting, Mr. Travis?
Yeah, yes.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Totsky?
No.
Mr. Pax? It's
Point
yes to
of- Point
deny.
of clarification on this.
Uh-huh.
If the motion was made to deny,
Deny, it's still a yes vote to pass
deny.
it.
Yes to deny.
Yes to
Okay.
deny.
Mr. Wellington
No.
and Mr. McCoy?
Yes.
That motion carries, so that means the monument sign area variance request has been denied. And this is specific still to that sign at the US 23 and Green Meadows intersection. So it's same for area variance request number 3. We're still talking about the US 23 and Green Meadows Drive sign.
Damn it.
Eric, on this one, we're just talking about the width of the monument sign, right?
The width of the base.
The width, yeah.
It needs a 12-foot base if it's to meet the code, but being proposed is only 6 feet.
Because of the diagonal, okay.
If the board wants to hear comment before the next motion is made, it's up to the board
Yes.
if they'd like to.
Yes,
Yeah, at least I think so.
yes, I would like to hear. Because then this-
So, and maybe Niels can speak to this a little bit, but an approval on the height and a denial on the size is, the sign won't work with the logo as it is. So it's in effect, you know, a denial of the whole thing. And so, you know, that'll have implications on opening executing the rebrand, all that stuff. I just want you to be aware of, you know, the implications of a denial on the increase to the size.
Yes.
What that does to the, you know, with the logo and all that and the design, has a significant effect on the whole thing. So I just want the commission to be aware of that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I want to make you aware of something. Moving it to the next meeting. What's that called, Eric?
Well, if,
Table.
it would have been up to you guys to work with the applicant if they wanted to do a continuance to
That's
the
the
next
word.
meeting. But in the light of the fact that you've moved into making decisions on each of the variance requests, it would, I think at this point, the applicant would have the opportunity to come back with a new application. It wouldn't be a continuance because you've already made
made
decisions on
one
what's been
ruling.
presented tonight.
Yeah, sorry,
So-
I should have.
They could come back, but I realize we're not done with the motions for the other variances. They could come back with a different application that shows you a different area and try going forward with that proposal.
I will state, I understand and appreciate your perspective of what you're stating about the width, the proportion of the graphics on that board, on the sign itself. We as a board hear a lot from our residents that of the monument signs and the scale of them. And so we're particularly sensitive on those because that's one of the things that we hear most from our residents, the Orange Township, is the monument signs on 23 are getting too big, they're getting too prominent, and we're going to become Morse Road. We hear that all the time. So we are keenly sensitive to proportions and nuance of even a slight reduction of a request, a percentage over the code or the zoning mandate. That is, at least in my mind, why I'm supporting, and not approving, because I'm trying to tweak, I'm trying to adjust this and be sensitive to that. So however the graphics can be adjusted perhaps, but to what Eric had just mentioned, if you come back with another sign that then is not as much of a percentage increase over the required or allowable size, that starts to impact the decision. So I just wanted to clarify that too, for at least my reasoning on the vote.
Much the same reasoning, so.
We're still on the number 3 request, so you have the decision to make on sign base.
It's one and the same, it's kind of related.
What?
I mean, it's related.
I know.
I'm confused.
Any questions before you make a decision?
We have to act on each of these tonight?
Not, I guess at this point, I'm trying to remember if we had this happen during Nissan's case where there was a little bit of trepidation or hesitation on part of the applicant. Should we just present the entire case? I think that was a little bit different because they had two parcels and they wanted to know, could we switch the order and then have everything voted on at once? There is the other case as well. So I'm kind of thinking along the lines of Nissan. That case allowed for a packaging, in a sense, of both of the sets of requests. So,
Yeah.
Given that they got a denial vote, I think that perhaps it would be a possibility if the board was open to asking them to continue. Well, number one, if they wanted to present the final sign, if I wanted to go to the next staff report and give you a sense of what they're requesting with the third sign, and then we could pick up from that third variance request, or say, if the board was open to a continuance kind of a situation, I think it would be acceptable for you as the board to see if they would be interested in continuing their second application, but I don't necessarily know if they would be in a position to continue this first
one.
case because you've already decided on the
Two of them,
area.
yeah.
So it seems like it might defeat the purpose, or might not necessarily even be a possibility for them because you've already denied the area as it's been presented tonight. So kind of up to you if you wanted to pause and move into the next staff report, again, similar to January and the Nissan sign requests. I could go through that staff report, but it's ultimately up to you as the board what you would like to do at this point with the votes.
Is there a way to get an approval on the size, on a smaller size, a conditional approval of a smaller area, slightly smaller area?
Yeah.
The reason I'm asking all this is, this, and I understand the concern on the size on the, I'm sure you guys have, heard a lot about that on Route 23. I mean, the size of our overall parcel, there's only gonna be, these signs for, a pretty significant stretch. So it's a little bit different than trying to put a massive sign on a 1 acre, 2 acre, or 3 acre parcel. This is a 28 acres.
Yeah.
So it's really, in my mind, and that's why, that's one of the reasons why we're, proposing this, is because it's not the same as, a 1 acre, 2 acre, 3 acre, smaller, I don't know how big the Nissan site is, but, so it's a different, in our mind, it's a different animal, and it's not the same. The concern shouldn't be, in our mind, as prominent, for this size parcel. So that's one thing. The other thing is, it's important from an opening standpoint that we have the signage, opening the new hotel, rebranding. It's not really your concern, but it's something that we're working hard to get the hotel open, get the new hotel open, get the new conference center, new branding open. We're ordering materials. It takes, Niels could tell you, or Phil could tell you, how long it takes to order these materials for the signs. And so to wait another, I don't know if it's a month or continue it, it's, pushes us back. And with everything going on in the world today, a month could be 3 months, or 6 months or whatever. So if there's, if there's a size that we could, shrink it, that would be satisfactory given all those considerations, and we could get an approval at that sign and redesign it that way, I think that would be our preference.
Yeah, I see your question. If it was a situation where the board hadn't made a decision about the area for the way that it's been presented tonight, then you could have asked for a continuance. Doesn't necessarily mean you would have been granted a continuance. That it would still have been the board's discretion if they wanted to still vote. I would say at this point for that particular sign, because the board has made a decision, your option is to pursue applying again and trying to get that sign approved through the subsequent meeting, because it's already been looked at in the sense of the way that it's been presented tonight. some of that goes back to, it's a legal requirement that we advertise in a certain amount of time ahead of the meeting, that the request is being presented in the form that you intend to have it. So if let's say we try to,
Like a conditional approval for.
yeah, conditional approvals can work, but the decision has already been made for this area variance tonight. So a conditional approval could not work for this sign because it's already been voted on. So, like I've said, with the advertising, the public is made aware that you're requesting a certain type of sign, certain area of sign, and that's done a certain number of days ahead of the meeting. That notices are sent out for adjacent property owners and general public. So you would need to bring that sign back in the form of an area variance application, conditional use, just like for this meeting. And our deadline is coming up. We do have the deadline on Monday for the new sign, or I should say for new area variance conditional uses for July.
Yeah.
So we can help the applicant out. Obviously, construction costs are expensive, lead time can be costly in different ways. Just, I'm interested in the criteria that I guess we determined to deny the request, but also, do we have a percent or some type of size that if they're gonna come back for, some type of
Yeah, I will say that kind of a conversation needs to happen after a new application is presented. We can't talk about strategies for something that they haven't given to us yet. I understand why you'd be interested, Mr. Wellington, but we would have to allow the applicant to make that submission, and then the board could have discussion at the next meeting. You can maybe talk generally about why this sign was denied, but not what you would need to approve of a new sign, if that makes
Understood.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's a discussion about why did you feel how you did about the area of the sign, absolutely, yes. Yep, you can talk about that.
Well, I can't state a number like 37.5%. And that's the magic number. That would be me designing something for you, and we're prohibited from doing that.
So we have to figure it out kind of on our own, what we think that.
Yeah, you know what the zoning regulation says, and we, as a rule of thumb, anything over 25% is considered a major variance on size, length, just about anything. Signs, in particular, Hardee's or something up here, and they want to put it at 28 feet. Well, the limit is 15. At 28, they're almost twice as high as they should be. But maybe that can't be lowered anywhere on a building, depending on the architecture. But we get into all of that in our heads. Once in a while, we go out and we talk about, okay, this is what the rule is. Not whether I'm going to vote for it or against it, but we get a flavor for which pieces are most important. And it's not just the size of the width, the height. You've exceeded that. You don't have many letters. Ohioan is not that long. If it was Washington or Washingtonian, it would be far worse trying to get all of those letters on the sign. But we've had people come back and redesign the signs, and we're fine with it. And we've also had the second, possibly the third time, and they still not within our requirements.
I will also, though, to say, in agreement with what he's saying, but also the speed that they're traveling on 23, there are a lot of factors that we do take into consideration when we're looking at evaluating a variance. And so the presentation you made tonight was good. You're bringing up a lot of those factors that are real. So when we look at the adjustments, those factors come into play as we adjudicate, and we are evaluating and making the decision. So there, it's a subtle thing, there, but it's a lot of factors that are coming into play on that. So you can take a guess for what we've been discussing as a board towards this application. Height is one thing, but then that width is another issue. So why the height was approved versus the width, I guess, is something that is, there's a reasoning there, and just, yeah, basically that's it.
And one of the rules is that the base must be larger than the sign itself. And because of the design that you've got here, and believe me, I like that design, your sign is twice as wide as the base, as we have it defined in the zoning. So that might be a step in the right direction, is to figure out.
I would say, yep, at this point, if the board wanted to move into making a decision whether they would support that base width for this sign, they could, but there are 2 more area variance requests ahead of you to decide on.
Is it possible to,
With-
turn it over, give the approval on the rest of the package without this sign, and then we can come back on this sign and not the other ones?
I think there is flexibility with that, but it is contingent upon what you present. If you were to bring a new application and what that would look like, how that would compare to what is before us tonight.
But we can, there's 3 signs, so one of them, we're gonna have to redo.
This sign, yep.
This one, we can get the other one, maybe that. Okay.
But it is also, with regard to those other signs, you're welcome to, with regard to the 3rd sign, you would be welcome to request a continuance, so we'll get to that for that sign.
So we're still with the variance on the base, correct?
Yeah, still with the variance on the base. Yeah,
Weird provision.
but it's how we have to measure the base that. Never mind. Does anybody else want to make a motion on number 3? Okay.
In effect, it's still a moot point, right, for the sign? We just need to get through these.
Well, so depending on if a future sign is presented in the same location with the same parameters, if it's a 6-foot base for the next sign, we might have to check with our legal counsel to figure out if that covers, or if they would be still needing to request for the base as well as the area, hypothetically. So we could look into that in the future. I don't know that I would call it a moot point through and through. But I see where you're coming at, because you've already made the decision to deny the area. So I don't think I've had this situation quite like this before, but I also wouldn't call it a moot point through and through.
Fair. I'm confused. I don't know what to do.
I have no issue with the base, do you?
Base, I do, because the base is supposed to be bigger than the sign width itself. And as design-wise, I'm fine with the base. If I was going to do it and get into the thing, I would put two layers of brick under that all the way. And then you would have a 12-foot base and a 12-foot sign. But if you leave the brick at 6 feet, because that's how we have to measure it, then that's going to be, you know, again, twice as much as it should be, or half as much as it should be.
Well, to move things along, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Okay. Based on discussions presented with the area, denial of the area request, and the fact of the base being impacted by that area request or being denied for the width of it being 12 foot by 18 feet, and the fact that the base can be adjusted with a future application, I deny the variance as presented today for case VA CU 2510 for the property located at 100 Green Meadows Drive, Lewis Center, Ohio, area variance in the monument sign from the Orange Township zoning resolution section 22.04A to reduce the permitted width of the monument sign's base from 12 feet to 6 feet in an area zone planned commercial and office district PC because, again, it is contingent upon the overall area variance,
Yeah.
which is being considered.
A second?
Motion made by Mr. Peck, seconded by Mr. McCoy. Those voting, Mr. Trevs,
Yes?
Mr. Totsky,
Yes.
Mr. Pax,
Yes?
Mr. Wellington,
Abstain.
and Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Number 4 is the brick one that says Ohioan on it, right?
Correct. This is at the driveway entrance.
Yeah, and it's curved and that. I move to approve, based on the factors that we've discussed, I move to approve case number VACU 2510 for the property located at 100 Green Meadows Drive South, Lewis Center, Ohio. The monument sign is identified in exhibits number 6 through 10 of this report for the area variance from the Orange Township zoning resolution section 22.04 A3E to increase the permitted area of the monument sign from 56 square feet to 98 square feet per side in a zone planned commercial and office district PC.
And Mr. Trevs, was that 98.1?
Yes, sorry, I can't read.
Second?
Motion made by Mr. Trevs, seconded by Mr. Pax. Those voting, Mr. Trevs,
Yes?
Mr. Totsky,
Yes.
Mr. Pax,
Yes?
Mr. Wellington,
Yes.
and Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, number 5. More than one monument sign. Eric, have we done this much at all?
Not in my time here, but because this is the same parcel, this is one business, these are 2 monument signs pertaining to that same business, it would require a variance. So I think something like this may, again, I'm not fully certain, but it may be something that covers them going forward
Yeah.
if this pertains to that parcel, if that makes sense.
I got you.
Okay.
Based on the factors, I move to approve case VA VA-CU-25-10 for the property located at 100 Green Meadows Drive, Lewis Center, Ohio, and the monument sign identified as in Exhibits 6 through 10 of this report for the area variance of Orange Township zoning resolution, section 22.04A5, to allow a second monument sign for the same business established in the area zone planned commercial and office district.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Treves, seconded by Mr. McCoy. Oh, Mr. Wellington. Sorry. All right, those voting, Mr. Treves,
Yes.
Mr. Totsky,
Yes.
Mr. Pax,
Yes.
Mr. Wellington,
Yes.
and Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
Motion carries. So that does it for the area variances. Now for the conditional uses.
That's the next one, right?
Correct. And that's back to the US 23 sign. I think they're gonna take a vote anyway. Not sure if you guys, in previous cases, I don't know if you've been in a situation where you've done area variance, if you've done the area variances, and if, I think it's still within your rights to hear his continuance request, but you don't have to honor that necessarily. So are you requesting continuance for the conditional use?
I feel like we should, because we're gonna have to come back on that one.
Please come up to the mic.
Yeah, I feel like for the US 23 sign, not the Ohioan sign at the drive, but the US 23 sign,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to come back anyway on that one and figure out what to do on that. So I feel like that we should continue those decisions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I move that we continue case number VACU 2511 till, July.
I'm sorry, I was just referring to US 23, not the Powell Road sign.
That's
Oh,
number 10.
I don't think we can split the
Yeah, I don't
cases, can we?
think, because it's the same sign, I haven't, in my past experience, I also hadn't had this request come through, so I think,
What we'd like to do, just in, I guess,
Able to do that.
in layman's terms, if we could, we'd like to get the Ohioan sign approved on Green Meadows, the entrance sign, and the Powell Road sign, which is,
Which is the
appropriate
next one,
scale.
yeah.
And then, I guess the denial will happen on the US 23 sign, we'll come back on that particular sign.
And I
If we
think-
could get a vote on the other two,
so just for the board to be aware, I think in practice, if you see, if there's gonna be a new sign request made, it would still require conditional use,
Yeah,
because it's presented as a different sign. So, I don't, in practice, I don't necessarily see how you would be able to continue that part of the application, because they've already made a decision on what's been presented tonight. And then if you were to bring back a new application showing a different sign, it would still require conditional use.
so maybe the best thing is to continue on.
yeah, we do the area and conditional at the same time.
Yep.
And then we'll go ahead and finish so that we get the entrance sign and the rest of them done yet tonight.
Great, thank you.
Yep,
So we're still on the US 23 conditional use.
yep.
So to move it along, I would move to deny the conditional use for case number VACU 25-10 for the property located at 100 Green Meadows Drive South, Lewis Center, Ohio, seeking a conditional use from Orange Township zoning resolution Article 22.04A to allow for the construction of a monument sign identified in Exhibits 1, number 1 through 5
of this report in an area zoned planned commercial and office district PC because taking into consideration the factors of 22.04A. Number two, the proposed use is not of such a nature and designed to be constructed, operated, and maintained in such a manner so as to be harmonious and appropriate with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity, and that such use will change the essential character of the same area. I would also add that it doesn't fit number 7, that the proposed use would be consistent with the objectives of this zoning resolution and the Orange Township Comprehensive Plan.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. McCoy, second by Mr. Treps. Those voting, Mr. Treps,
Yes?
Mr. Totsky,
No.
Mr. Pax,
Yes.
Mr. Wellington,
No.
and Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-2. Okay, for the driveway entrance.
That's the one on 14, page 14?
I think so. No.
No.
The one that begins on page 18.
18, thank you.
17, 18.
Also, to move things along, based on these factors, I move to approve case number VACU 2510 for the property located at 100 Green Meadows Drive South, Lewis Center, Ohio, seeking a conditional use from Orange Township zoning resolution article 22.04A to allow for the construction of a monument sign identified in exhibits number 6 through 10 of this report in an area zone planned commercial and office district PC.
I second that motion.
Mr. McCoy. Motion made to approve by Mr. Wellington, seconded by Mr. McCoy. Those voting, Mr. Treps,
Yes?
Mr. Totsky,
Yes.
Mr. Pax,
Yes.
Mr. Wellington,
Yes.
and Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
Motion carries. Conditional use is approved. Okay. So that's everything for this case, BAC 25-10. The next request is for the parcel adjacent, which I will get into the details here in just a moment. Is everybody feeling fine? No need for recess? Looking forward to
I'm
head?
fine at least.
Okay, just to double check.
Appreciate it.
Yep. All right, so last case of the evening, VACU-25-11, presented by the same applicant and owners as the last case. This site is address 370 Green Meadows Drive South. It's a 2.07 acre, 2.076 acre parcel. The zoning district here is Planned Industrial District. So the applicant is seeking 3 area variances from Orange Township zoning resolution, Article 22 to allow for a monument sign that exceeds the maximum allowable display area, exceeds the maximum permitted height, and to have a base that is less than the width of the display area. Also seeking conditional use from the Orange Township zoning resolution to allow for a monument sign. Subject property is located, is owned by Nationwide Realty and Investors, and is a vacant parcel. This lot is immediately east of the 28-acre parcel where the Nationwide Hotel and Conference Center is situated. So we did go through the surrounding land uses. They are essentially all the same as for the last case. Just to direct you to the specific location, it's east of the 28-acre parcel so the boundary, the west property line boundary is coterminous with the part of the east property boundary of that 28-acre parcel. The monument sign that's existing there is at the northeast corner of the parcel. You can see in that darker circle there.
Yeah.
And we're familiar with the township location. We move along through the next section, which is the conditional use criteria. So number 3 from 22.04A3, section A or subsection A, the sign is a monument-style freestanding sign. The applicant is proposing monument-style freestanding sign as shown in Exhibit 1. Maximum height of such sign does not exceed 8 feet above the average grade of the site, and the sign is located at the distance from any street right-of-way line as required. According to Exhibit 1, the proposed sign will be 18 feet 0 inches tall and exceeds the required height by 10 feet 0 inches. The sign does not have more than 2 sides or surfaces. The sign as proposed will have 2 sides as shown. The display area of any one side or surface does not exceed 1/2 of the total area and display area permitted. Single sign face totals approximately 197 7/10 square feet, when only 64 square feet per face is permitted. So there is a variance being requested. It's a lot of text. I think you're familiar with this about the display area of surfaces, so let me just move along to our response. The proposed 2-sided sign will total approximately 197 7/10 square feet per side, and 395 4/10 for both sides. The sign will be set back 32 feet and 10 inches from the right-of-way line along East Powell Road, so only 64 square feet total per side is permitted. The variance is being requested. Section G, no part of such sign will be closer to any street right-of-way line than 15 feet, nor closer to any other property line than the applicable building setback line if the adjoining property is in the residential district. The proposed sign will be set back 32 feet and 10 inches from the street right-of-way line, which meets this standard. All right. Next portion is the monument sign site plan, and it has the blue beam measurement. This time it is actually in blue, and it shows that 32 feet and 10 inches measured, again, as closely as we could to get the accurate setback distance, again, from the edge of the sign to the street right-of-way line. Next exhibits are, just as you saw in the previous staff report, a comparison of what's existing versus what is being proposed. So in this case, the existing sign is about 8 feet and 6 inches tall by 7 feet 4 1/4 inches wide. The new sign, it's essentially the same dimensions as you saw for that US 23 sign. It would be 18 feet tall by 12 feet wide. And there's Exhibit 4 with the measurement establishing the 197.7 square feet in area. Should all look very familiar to you. We have the area variances listed out first, and then the conditional use. And just one sign we're talking about on this parcel. So the first area variance being for the total display area, the monument sign, and this should state at Powell Road, not US 23, is proposed to be 18 feet tall, which represents a 10-foot variance request. This is roughly 125% variance request from section 22.04A3B. Variance number 2, that's for the total display area. That's the display area of the monument sign at East Powell Road is proposed to be 197.7 square feet per side, which exceeds the maximum 64 square feet of area per side or surface by 133.7 square feet. This is a roughly 208% variance request. Okay, number 3, well, Exhibit 5 shows that base width. That brings about area variance request number 3. The base width of the monument sign at US 23 is proposed to be 6 feet wide. So the display area is 12 feet, which means they're requesting a variance of 6 feet. This is a 50% variance request. The rest is the criteria for your consideration, the factors. Let me know if you have any questions on this one. can open it up to the applicant for additional feedback and comment.
I don't have anything further really to say about this.
What else can be said, right?
I guess I would, ask if, is there a different, are you thinking about it differently on Powell Road versus US 23? You get the same concerns or issues? Is a question that, occurred to me.
That's a legitimate question. I mean, for me personally, I'm considering speed of vehicles on Powell is significantly slower than on 23. Heavy trucks primarily on 23. So with the semis, visibility even more so reduced than typically encountered on Powell. So when I consider percentages of increase beyond our mandate on the code, that's a factor. And so I'm more inclined to have a larger sign on 23 just for those factors, and that even that you had presented in your presentation for that variance versus this one. So that's frankly to me is even more problematic on Powell with the size of the sign versus 23 in justification. Signage, size of letters, all of that I understand, but it's more just pure and simply the visibility and speed of the, passengers and people in the cars being able to see it and get to it. So that's a factor.
I can say as someone who voted yes on the last one, I know what 23 is gonna become and how much faster people are gonna travel, right? But chances are Powell's still gonna be up against that stop sign, and it's still going to be, or a stoplight, you're still gonna have a lot slower traffic. And you're also, what we're going from and to here, the last one was 17 feet tall already, and now we're asking for that same increase. There is more concern from one to the other, if that makes sense. Eric,
But he could ask for continuance on
Okay.
this one,
thank you.
because it's a new application.
Yeah, we haven't made any decisions on it, so you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, before we do anything, that would be,
Sounds like we ought to. So I guess we'll ask for.
Okay.
Okay.
I move that we grant a continuance until the July meeting.
Just for formality's sake, I did want to bring up before you stated that the same commenter from earlier had given the comments on this parcel as well. That was the only comment I received on this request. So, continue.
Yeah. I move to grant a continuance for this application.
I would only modify your motion to continue this until such a time as they represent what they want to do to the zoning committee or zoning commission to determine whether that's going to be July or August.
Well,
or-
ultimately, it's
or-
up to if the applicant wants to request to the next meeting, it's within their rights to
It's
request.
up to them.
Correct. Yep.
Because I didn't hear that. I'm just
Oh,
being
yeah.
very particular about,
No, I understand.
I'm sorry, what was the?
the question is when would you like a continuance to?
Yeah, I mean, we'd like that, yeah, we'd like to have it for the next meeting. The
Okay.
question is, can we get something turned around that quickly? And
Right.
Monday's the deadline, is there any way to extend that for a day or two to allow us to get something in? Or a couple of days?
Yep, so we have a slightly varied schedule with the Juneteenth holiday. That's one of the reasons we're not meeting on the third Thursday. So we would have wiggle room, if you will, to accept something by the end of Monday. The Monday end of day is 4:30, so any changes could be submitted by then. That is for a new application. So I'm more referring to your previous request. You should have even more time if you wanted to submit some changes for your continued application because you're already in the queue. So you should be fine as far as that goes.
Past the Monday deadline.
Correct,
Okay.
correct, yep.
Okay.
So if you're requesting the next meeting, that should be on that is on July 17th, same time, same place, right here.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Was that, yep.
So July 17th works for the continuance.
What's the submittal? When
Yeah,
will we
that's the
submit?
thing.
I think we try to have everything in by at least 2 weeks in advance of that meeting date.
Yeah.
All right.
But we have to submit a new application.
New
For
application.
the new application, that's the Monday deadline.
And is there a, can't get an extension on that.
I think Monday is probably the most we can do. I can follow up and see if Tuesday, but as I understand, Monday is going to be the deadline.
Okay.
Okay.
That's tough.
All right, so they had requested, from what I heard, the continuance to July 17th for the request in front of us now.
Right. The VA
CU 2511.
2511. Yeah. A second?
Second.
Okay.
Who made the initial motion? Okay, sorry.
Mr. Chair.
A motion to continue the application VA-CU-25-11 to July 17th, which is the next BZA meeting date. That was made by Mr. Treves, seconded by Mr. Wellington. Those voting, Mr. Treves,
Yes?
Mr. Totsky,
Yes.
Mr. Pax.
Yes.
Mr. Wellington.
Yes.
And Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
Motion is to continue that application.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. So the last piece of the agenda is the administrative items. I think there were 2 sets of minutes that I had sent out to you all. If you didn't have any concerns about either of those minutes, then you can go ahead and move to approve those. I did not receive any corrections for any aspects of the minutes, whether that be, well, any types of changes. I'm not sure.
I thought I sent one in
Was that for April
which
or
one?
March?
April or March, yeah.
Okay, I may have to,
It was a minor one.
do you happen to know when those would have been sent?
Not off the top of my head, but let me check.
Okay, I think the March, yes, the March minutes. You had one change?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
thanks you
it.
for that reminder. So that would be as amended. Looks like that's just a single line, a word change to reflect what was actually said. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can make a motion to approval with the amendment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Approved
All right.
as amended.
Well, I'll move for approval of the minutes for the March 20th, 2025 minutes as amended.
I'll second.
Motion to approve made by Mr. Pack, seconded by Mr. Treves. Those voting, Mr. Treves,
Yes.
Mr. Totsky,
Abstain.
Mr. Pax,
Yes.
Mr. Wellington,
Yes.
and Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
Minutes have been approved. Next one is April, of course.
Make a motion of approval of the April 17th, 2025 minutes.
I'll second again.
Motion made by Mr. Pack, seconded by Mr. Treves. Those voting, Mr. Treves,
Yes.
Mr. Totsky,
Abstain.
Mr. Pax,
Yes.
Mr. Wellington,
Yes.
and Mr. McCoy.
Yes.
I hadn't looked at May's.
I have no other announcements or any other,
Do we have
anything else
Mays
to
yet?
share?
I didn't see it.
I didn't see it.
I haven't received, but as soon as we do, we'll
Okay.
forward those along.
I just didn't want to miss it if,
I-
well, twice. Once for not reading it and once for here.
I missed your corrections, so we could be
Yeah.
even at that point, so sorry about that. But certainly appreciate your being engaged in the process, even if it's for a little change here and there. Appreciate all of your efforts now for the meeting and on all the administrative fronts as well. I don't have, like I said, any other announcements to make unless
Okay.
anyone else has anything for the good of the order.
Going once, twice, we are adjourned.